What I've learned during my freshman year at USC is that most people at these colleges are going to be successful, but here's what differentiates the successful from the ultra successful. The approach I'm going to be sharing with you guys is the mindset that ultra wealthy and ultra successful people have, no doubt about it. This is how I continue to stay unbothered and transform every single rejection into success. Here's what I've observed from really ambitious students who get rejected from clubs. I think there's 3 ways that people react. The first way is disillusionment. They're just like, why is the system like this? They're the type of people that are like, getting into USC is already so competitive. Why are these clubs so competitive? They pretty much complain about the system. Some people even just decide to never apply to a club again. Then there's the self-loathing approach where you're like, I'm the problem, I suck, and you just feel so bad about yourself. You take the rejection personally, and it kind of demotivates you to ever try again. I think both of these approaches are quite unhealthy and won't lead to sustained success, whether it's in business or other fields. Here's how I make sure that I don't absolutely hate myself, because I think it is important to pat yourself on the back for small wins. So something that I personally believe is that a lot of the times when I apply to things, I am doing the best that I could with the knowledge that I currently had. But when I look forward, I think, how can I acquire more knowledge and be even more well prepared? You can't necessarily control how the application system works. You can't really control what GPA you got in high school. I think that when you dwell so much on the past and you play a victim mentality, that's really where bitterness is brewed. When it comes to the blame game, I would rather incorrectly blame myself than blame others. I know some people are like, Annie, you're too hard on yourself, and yes, it's important to show grace to yourself, to express gratitude to yourself, be proud of where you've come, but I think ownership is so important, and just recognizing the ways that you could have improved your experience, because you really can't control others. I think it's also important to note the difference between preferential and objective rejection. So, preferential rejection would be, for instance, let's say a guy doesn't like Asian girls, like he really doesn't, you know? Is that something I can change? Not really. Sometimes I've had people like, oh, I like you, what do you think? And I genuinely just tell them, I'm sorry, like, I'm only interested in entering a relationship with someone who's also Christian. I try to tell them it's not personal. So this is even how college rejections may work. Like, you might get into a higher ranked school and then rejected from schools that are ranked lower, and it's not necessarily because you're incompetent, your grades are bad, but sometimes they're just looking for a specific person. Some schools want a more creative, quirky person. Some schools want a very ambitious type A person. You can't always change that, and you shouldn't always change that. I think something that I've discovered is some people's favorite things about me are some people's least favorite things about me. Like, some people are like, I love how ambitious and inspiring you are, and then some people are like, I'm really intimidated by it. Can you just chill out? You just won't be everyone's cup of tea. But here's what objective rejection is. Let me give you guys an example. I applied to this investing club that I was really excited about, and I got past a written application and had my first round interview. I immediately had a hypothesis and why I didn't move on to the next round. My mental math was simply too slow. So for a lot of business clubs, they do what's called market sizing when they interview you. So my question was, how big is the market in the US of electric vehicles? You're not given a calculator, so you have to do all this mental math on paper, and mine was just simply too slow. Later on, that was confirmed by like my friend that was like in the club. She asked my interviewers, why didn't Annie get into the club? And that was like one of the biggest reasons why. So that's like an objective thing. And the good thing about recognizing that that was objective rejection is that I now know what I want to do before I reapply next semester. I want to start practicing my mental math. So it's very important to differentiate between the two so you know what you should actually focus on improving. Also, when you deal with rejection, you don't have to suppress those emotions. You don't have to be chill and nonchalant. Grieve first. It's okay to cry, but please do not dwell on it. Don't make it part of your identity. What I mean when I say that the rejection isn't personal is a lot of the times it's a skill set thing. So I'll insert a video of me kind of dealing with a club rejection. I just talked to my friend Caitlin, and she was just very comforting. A lot of the times in my life, I know what advice I would give someone else, and I know like logical thoughts that would help
battle any negative thinking that I have, but it's just like at the end of the day, I still feel how I feel. When I was younger, I was never like super book smart. I always saw that as a negative thing. But I think when I started to see more success on social media, I think I was more affirmed about like my intellectual potential. And I think coming to college, like, I want to try new things. I don't want to just like do social media marketing. It's not a bad thing that these clubs are selective. Like, I'm in a selective marketing club, and let's be so for real. If this club accepted more people and this club was 300 students, like, nothing would get done. I think I just want to prove to myself that I can be this Renaissance woman, that I can do whatever I set my mind to, which, again, I still agree with. I just think I'm like pushing myself to do it at like a very fast rate. Like, I literally apologize if anything that I'm saying is sounding like a victim mindset. Like, it's not the world's fault. It's not anyone's fault. Next semester, when I'm doing recruiting for my club, like, I am going to have to cut some people from application rounds. Like, it's really not that personal. I think it's just like hitting my inner child, like, insecurity, that I'm just not smart enough.
For me, the club rejection hurt for, I'd say, 2 reasons. I think I felt like, oh, what if I'll never be good at a quantitative job? What if I'll never be able to do quick math? So I think that was just a limiting mindset. And I think in high school, I always thought, oh, I'm just not good at STEM. So I think that was kind of bringing me back to that original insecurity. And I was also upset because I was upset. So then I started making a list of all the things I can control, all the resources at USC that I can take advantage of, because it's not just student organizations that can help propel your career. I had to confront the fact that club recruitment season was over. I couldn't submit any other applications, I couldn't make a letter of appeal, and that's okay. So here's what I did in Club 1, Club A that rejected me. I thanked the 3 people that are currently in the club who gave me application advice, because, again, you can choose to take it personally or you can choose to continue to make that connection. I know some people are like, oh, it's so awkward seeing people on campus that rejected me, but it's like you can kind of like choose to, quote unquote, not burn a bridge, but like avoid someone, or you can draw even closer to them and make that a point of contact. I actually asked one of the board members for a coffee chat, and I've stayed in touch with her since. And the coffee chat wasn't like, oh, let me into your club, but realizing like she has a wealth of knowledge. It's going to be so good to connect regardless. So don't take rejection from an organization like they don't even want to see me. Okay, so Club 2 or Club B that I got rejected from, I thanked also another 2 people that gave me application advice. I've also continued to stay in contact with them both, and I reflected on my weaknesses, so my slow mental math. And I took accountability for that weakness. I wasn't like, this is just something I'm born with. Like, maybe your rejection was not from a school club. Maybe it was from an internship. Maybe it was from a person. But there's always a way to apply these principles to almost every situation. After reflecting on my weaknesses, I asked the president, I was like, oh, after your guys' club recruitment cycle is over, do you mind connecting me with one of the other people on the board? Just because he was going into an industry that I was interested in. And I had a really good conversation with him before my interview. That's also a big thing, just the energy that you come into every room with. So the way that these behavioral interviews work is like we're at the USC business building, and there's a lot of students kind of just crowded in one of the floors preparing for their interview and like waiting to be invited in for their time slot. That waiting time can really be a touch point and an opportunity for you to network. So when I got to that kind of waiting room area, I saw one of the board members who wasn't interviewing anyone that day, but he was just like sitting down, like probably on his phone or something. But I noticed that he was wearing like a basketball outfit. So I sat next to him and I was like, oh, do you play basketball? We had a really good conversation. So that was a touch point where I wanted to connect with him. So I asked the president, I was like, could he connect me with him? And when I sent him an email, I kind of referenced that main interaction we had. The next thing I did was get on this platform called the Trojan Network. It's like alumni from USC that want to stay in touch with students or want to help students sign up for it. So your response rate is going to be so good because they literally signed up to help you. So I emailed 2 people. They both responded so quickly. I had a phone call with both of them. One of them I met in person. One of them I text almost every week. And one of them is even willing to create an internship program for me. Like, these people are genuinely helpful when you put yourself out there and ask. I also reached out to my brother's friend who's in banking. He is also super helpful. He'll literally exchange paragraphs with me. I swear people in banking, when they have the time, are super helpful. I also built a freaking network spreadsheet where I track like who I networked with, the last date we connected, some notes on them. So like if they're like, oh, like my little brother's applying to college, I literally make a note of that. And then maybe in 6 months I follow up with it. Like, oh, what university is your brother going to? It's those small little details that make your relationships with people just so tight. And you know, some people might see it as transactional or extra to get a spreadsheet, but what you measure grows. These clubs that I got rejected from, it's not like a golden ticket to where I want to go. So like if you're rejected from even a university, it's not like going to that university, like simply just being there is going to make you successful. Like for instance, reaching out to people on LinkedIn for a coffee chat, that's not something that only a USC student can do. Like yeah, maybe if you go to prestigious school, your response rate will be better, but I would say it's still pretty accessible. Here are some other ways that I apply this no victim mentality, focus on what you can control mindset. I try not to complain about professors that assign unclear work and I'm like, oh, like this test, like it's gonna be terrible, because that's clearly not something I have control over, and wasting my breath complaining about this exam is taking away from time and energy I could be spent studying for it. Like I genuinely feel when there's corrupt systems, only continue to complain if you're actually going to do something about it. You can change the game, or you can get with it, or you can get off the court. I also think that the let them theory is so essential when dealing with rejection. So Mel Robbins is like a self-development guru, and she wrote a book called The Let Them Theory. The main idea is that we can't really control other people's actions, and we shouldn't. So let's say someone's rejecting me, someone's not putting their effort in our relationship. I'm not going to continue to ask them to change their behavior, but I will be adjusting mine. Even my aunt, who is like a parent of a 4-year-old, she was like, I'm never going to be like yelling at my child in a playground, telling them what they need to do, but I will set boundaries and say like, if you do this, here's how I'm going to respond. Also, I try my best to never say I don't have time, because the worst thing that you can do is reject yourself. So saying, oh, I don't have time to work out, I don't have time to take care of my body, you're just not making the time. When people are like, oh, do you want to join this initiative? Do you want to hang out? I don't tell them I don't have time. I just say, I don't think it's sustainable for me to make time for that in my life at the moment. I genuinely think that your words really build your life. There's so much power in what you say. There's been so many times where I've said a limiting mindset statement in front of my friend, and I've literally told them, wait, hold up, I take that back, I am not going to say that. The main takeaway of this video is watch your life change once you change the way that you process rejection. Rejection is inevitable. As you reach higher levels, you will still be rejected, but they might just be from better opportunities. You can be better, or you can get better.